Hey, what's up, everybody? Chad Calek here, and welcome back to the In a Crowded Room podcast for episode number 89, which I am going to share with you an incredible true story about a highly bizarre weekend that I just experienced at our AGH Presents the Yorktown Asylum event, which is just outside of San Antonio, about an hour or so at the Yorktown Memorial Hospital, also known as the Yorktown Asylum. Now, if you've never been to this place, it's like a mini Waverly Hills. It's an old tuberculosis hospital that for a brief time period became an insane asylum and then later became a rehab center before it was eventually shut down in I believe it was 1986. It was 86 or 96. Forgive me for not having the exact date off the top of my head. But it was a while ago when it shut down. Now, I've been there enough to know that it's haunted. I've always had experiences there, but they've always, been what I would call, I guess, garden variety, haunting stuff, footsteps, a few knocks here and there. But it was consistent. Like every time I went back, I would have no less than at least one experience, one legitimate thing that multiple people saw and would document. And it's always been a good spot. And what I love about it the most is that the owner, Joanne, I think is the best owner out of all the owners of these large haunted locations. Because Joanne understands that when you go do these investigations, you don't want the history tour, you don't want oversight. You just want to be left alone to do your investigation and run it how you would like. And it's the only location I've ever been to where the property manager shows up. They will welcome you. They will answer any of your questions if you have any. They will give you any warnings if there's something you need to be warned about. They will hand you the keys, and they will tell you to have fun and lock up when you leave. And they're gone. And that's it. The place is yours. And I love that about the Yorktown Asylum. So no matter what, whenever I'm planning my events, I always, for the year, because some of these I'll plan a year in advance, I always make sure that I have Yorktown on the map. And, like I said, I've been there like 5 times. And there's always been enough activity to make for a really good night. But never anything that was just incredibly intense to the degree that it would completely freak me out. Well, what we experienced on Saturday night was mind-blowing. I mean, absolutely mind-blowing. But I'll get into that. Let me rewind a bit. Because when I think about the sum of all the odd things that occurred over the weekend, perhaps I should have walked into Yorktown expecting things to go haywire because I was given many warnings. Now, if you guys know, I took about a 2-year break from doing events between, I guess, last June and 2 years, prior to that. This is the 3rd event that I've done since kind of coming back after going on hiatus for a couple years. And the 2 previous events blew my mind. I mean, the activity was just so intense. Everybody experienced things. At our event down at the Thomas House in Tennessee, just outside of Nashville, 20-some people witnessed objects being thrown, a shoe being thrown, glasses being thrown, an actual photo of like an 8.5-foot entity was photographed, in which I shared with you guys. But specifically, the activity at that event, when I got there, seemed to be pointed at me to the degree that it actually said my name. At one point at that investigation, there was a loud Chad that came out from a male. There was only one male that was behind me, and that's where it came from, and I knew him, and we all knew it wasn't his voice. He said it wasn't his voice, and everybody in the room had heard it. And this thing was specifically baiting me, to the point that I got pretty freaked out, and I was open about this. It was something that really kind of disturbed me. And then at our last event, Now, keep in mind, I'm not psychic in any capacity. I mean, I have intuition, but I am not psychic. I don't know how to speak to ghosts or see them, hear them, anything like that. I just have natural intuition the way anybody would that's done something a lot. You just kind of sense things sometimes. At our last event at the Flint Creek Ranch in Meridian, Texas, which was, a week ago, right when I showed up outside the house that I was staying in, the manor, I had said to Justin Ross, who brought me there, I said, I feel like someone's watching us. He said, where? I had not been in the house yet. I did not know where I was staying. I pointed to the window, and he said, this is a mansion, by the way. And he says, interesting, because that's your room. We went into that room in which a lot of activity occurred specifically in that room, and we were able to document it. And it was, activity that was intelligently responsive, asking for things. If you're here, just give me one loud knocking sound and I'll stop asking. And then, seemingly coming from everywhere, it sounded like it sounded like a piece of iron or something just smashed into something wooden. The door was also kicked open. The light was thrown on. There was all kinds of things that occurred that I was just going, this is crazy. Like two events in a row where the activity was incredibly intense. And not only that, a degree of it I felt to be largely centered at me or around me. And I hadn't said anything openly to anybody because I just want people to enjoy the activity. And hey, if you're getting activity, that's great, because I'll tell you what, if I could get back the hours at the end of my life that I've sat in the dark with nothing happening, I would be a happy man. Activity just doesn't happen very often. Most of the time, nothing happens. That's just the nature of ghost hunting. So when I book these events, I always just try to book a location that is haunted, but that's also just an awesome place that people will enjoy. So if nothing happens, which the chances are nothing will happen, people still have a great time. That's honestly how I approach my events. Yorktown being the one exception, because you don't stay at Yorktown. You stay in a hotel and then you go to Yorktown. But because it's always been active enough where something happens, like I said, I've always booked it. So let's start with the trip in. I waited late to buy my ticket there. And just because I have so much stuff going on behind the scenes, and I have some stuff in my personal life with family that make it very hard to know, where I'm going to be, where I have to fly home, if I have to rush home, all those types of things. But I got very lucky, and I got a plane ticket out there. Tickets were like $360 for like a one-way, and I was like, God damn it! Like that's. I just hate wasting money on things like plane flights and stuff. So I did the Priceline thing, and I don't know how this occurred, but they offered me a first class one-way ticket for $138. And I was like, is this real? I mean, not that it's unheard of, but I guess odd, So I'm like, I'll take it. Sure enough, it was real. I was like, holy cow, that's awesome. I'm going to be nice and comfortable going there, which is great, So I get on the flight, take the flight, and as we're pulling in to land in San Antonio, the plane is banking hard to the left, and I'm talking to the gal sitting next to me. And in the middle of the conversation, she says, "What the fuck is that?" And she just has this like death look on her face. And I look outside, and through the window, I am telling you, it looks like the Phoenix Lights over San Diego. Massive, this massive string of lights in this huge formation right above the city is right there. It's moving very slow. It was absolutely moving, and it was keeping in perfect formation. So as quickly as I can, because the plane is banking. So it's slowly moving out of the vision of my port side window. So I take photos of it as many as I can. I think I got like 4. And then it was out of my sight. And when we landed, shortly after that turn, we aligned with the runway. So it would have been in the back of me now. So I couldn't see it. But when we landed, as I was getting out, the captain came from the captain's seat, and he was standing in the galley. And I said to him, "Hey, did you see those lights? And he said, yes, I did, which blew me away. I was like, holy shit, he answered me. And I go, what were they? And he goes, I don't know. They weren't in our flight path, though. And I go, huh, what do you think they were? And he goes, well, it looked like lights in the sky. That's all he said, you know? And I'm like, okay. So I get off the plane. I'm thinking, that's crazy. Look, it's not unheard of, man. People see weird shit in the sky. Although I've never flown. I've been on 500 flights in my life. Never seen anything like this. Never seen anything like this close to a plane as we're landing. But, look, could it be military stuff? Sure. Was it? Probably. Sure. I've never seen it before. It was shocking the way it looked. In fact, if you look at the screen right now, here's the photo that I took. As you can see, it's massive, So I'm not saying it was an ET or anything like that. I'm saying I don't know what it was. It was odd. Let's just say it's odd, okay? And, so I was, pretty blown away. So I go to pick up my bag, and my luggage is not there. And I'm thinking, how do you lose my luggage on a straight flight from LA to San Antonio? I mean, it's just a short 2.5-hour flight. So I go and I ask them, and they say, we don't show it landing. So maybe it got pulled off for some reason, but don't worry. We have your information. If you don't hear from us by 10 a.m., come down here. It should have arrived by then, wherever it's at, and we'll get you sorted, Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay. So I wake up, I go down, and they say now that my bag is in the system. As I understood what they were saying, that it did come in, and it was in their system, but for some reason they couldn't locate it. So they take me on this, long walk, looking through all these metal cages and this back room where bags are supposed to be, and it's not anywhere. It's nowhere, which is just pissing me off, So I tell them, look, I've got to roll. I have people coming in that I'm meeting for this event. I've got to go. So they say, let me know where you're staying. I say, look, I'm staying 2 hours away. And they tell me that they're going to drive my bag to me, even though it's 2 hours away, which I'm smelling bullshit big time. I'm thinking, you couldn't get my bag here. Now you're going to tell me you're going to drive it 2 hours to me. But they did, so I'm like, all right. So I leave. I walk outside. And it's absolutely freezing, which I just hadn't even noticed in the morning because I just hopped into my car from the valet. And I'm like, God, how cold is it? And I look, and at that time, it was 46 degrees. The low was 44. And I'm like, Jesus, are we in San Antonio? You're telling me it's a few degrees above freezing? And so when I get back to the hotel, I asked the guy, I say, what's the deal with the weather? And he says, yeah, we have a cold front. It's only going to be here for 2 days. It was like, the low, yesterday it was like 80 and the high was like 95. And I'm like, wow. So it's just going to be this cold for like 2 days. And he's like, yeah. So you got to think all of these things, none of this stuff's unheard of, like lights in the sky. I mean, it happens. People see it. Who knows what it is, but odd, your bag's getting lost. It happens. But my bags are in the system, and they're showing that they're there, but now they can't find it. It happens, but again, odd, I would say. I'm in Texas, one of the hottest states in the United States. The 2 days that I'm there, the low is supposed to be close to freezing. Again, not unheard of, but odd, just odd. Just a bunch of strangeness is going on. And all of it, I'm sure, can be explained. It was just a series of it seemed like everything was odd. So I go back and because I'm a responsible adult, I email, my guests that are coming because I'm supposed to be meeting a lot of them in front of the Minger Hotel. And I email them to say, hey, listen, this is what's going on. I'm running about 15 minutes late, but I'll be there. Thankfully, I pulled up like 5 afternoon and, they were already there, and I said, hey, everybody, and it was cool, and I said, I'll be right back, and I just went around the corner, and I parked my car, I get in line, I, walk up to the pay now meter, where they're charging $20 for anything past 20 minutes, which, I was like, Jesus, this is rape, so I pull out my card, and I run my card for the parking pass, And you know the spinning wheel that lets you know the computer's thinking? This spinning wheel, like, gets jammed, and it's just spinning forever. And I'm just sitting here waiting, and a couple other people come up behind me, Pretty soon, 10 minutes has passed, and it's still, like, thinking. It won't cancel. I can't get it to cancel the transaction. I can't go to the next page. I can't go back. I can't do anything. And now there's like a line of 15 people behind me that are going, dude, what the fuck? Like, pay for your stuff and keep it moving. And I could, like, feel their stare. You know what I mean? I finally turn around. I'm like, I don't know what's happening, guys. I'm like, I just ran my card. I don't know what's up. I don't know what's going on. So I turn around and I'm just like, God, hurry. What the hell? And this thing is just doing this forever. And I'm like, I am totally fucked. I can't just walk away not knowing what happens here. And I can't cancel this transaction out. And right as I'm literally about ready to call my card company and go, I guess shut this card down, it goes through. And I get my tab for parking. Again, can this be explained? Sure, we've all had things where the computer is thinking and takes too long, but this was exceptionally long. Was it odd? Yeah, I'd say it was odd. Another odd event. So anyways, I make my way back and I meet all our guests. And I mean this, man, I'm telling you, at every event that I've ever been to, no matter how cool or, how awesome the location is, no matter what the history is, no matter what the event schedule is, the individuals that have the power to make or break an event are the guests. If the guests are cool and fun, it doesn't matter what happens. You're going to have a great time. And I can truly say this, man. The group of people that joined me for this event, I was honored. I was honored to be in their presence. I mean, just incredibly fun, just so cool. We laughed so much, told so many stories. We went and had lunch at the Hard Rock Cafe. It was awesome. We just had an amazing time getting ready for this event. And, I just want to say thank you to all of them because, I've been open with the fact. You guys know this, man. I've been going through a tough time, with the medical stuff going on. With a family member of mine and all the stuff, the weirdness with all the Cerno-face stuff and, having my work schedule's insane right now. It's all been very tough and it's been a struggle at times. And, having a series of events that are just a pain in the ass and are odd and just like I wasn't in the best mood showing up. But within 5 minutes, man, this group just transformed me. And just like that, I'm now living my best life with friends, having a great time. And, I loved how inquisitive everybody was and all the questions that you guys had. And just, I love hearing people's thoughts on, theories of the paranormal and my work and just hearing about their experience. It was just genuinely an amazing time, So we finish up our lunch and we decide it's time to head out. So, we're heading from San Antonio to the Yorktown Asylum. We're actually on our way to a town called Cuero. There is a new hotel that we're going to stay at there. It was called the Texan. It was brand new, but very cheap. It's a small town in the middle of Texas, like $30-40 a night, something like that. And like I said, I'm all about saving money on hotels. I just think hotels are probably the biggest rip-off institution in the nation. So, but as we're leaving, I put in, the address to the hotel, and so does a gentleman and his girl who are following me. And as we're leaving, they're flashing their lights at me. And I'm finally like, oh, shit, something must be wrong. So I pull over, and they pull up, and this girl, Heather, leans out the window, and she's like, hey, you're going the wrong way. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I got it dialed in on my phone. I could see they have it dialed in on their phone too. And they're saying, no, it's telling us we're supposed to turn back there. And I'm like, no, I just ran this again. They're like, no, we're supposed to turn. So I'm thinking, well, better safe than sorry. So I follow them. And as we go, my phone just keeps rerouting, saying, no, go back the other way. It keeps doing it. So finally I pull over and flash at them, and they come back around, and I'm like, guys, I'm telling you, this is the wrong way. Because I did have a slight memory in my head of where we're going. And I thought we were going the right way. And they said, okay, well, we'll follow you. And we would have been extremely late if we would have been lost. So I just follow my phone, and thank God my phone was right and theirs was wrong. And I don't blame them. They were doing exactly what I was doing. They were reading their phone, putting it in, and saying, this is what's up. But, why their phone was trying to take me away from that place, I don't know. But it was. It was trying to route me literally the opposite direction that we were going. Again, in retrospect, it's like, was that a sign? Was something trying to tell me don't go here tonight? I don't know. Now we're getting into a larger conversation about fate and destiny, and I don't know. But it was odd, right? We'll just say it was odd. So we get there. I show up again. We had 15 total people with us. At this place, I don't like getting larger in groups than that. I mean, it is a big hospital, but I've hosted events before, and I've been to events that have super large numbers, and it's just not worth it. When you get, numbers that are so large that I can't spend any amount of quality time with everybody who comes, and if people can't investigate because it's so fucking loud the whole time that, you couldn't begin to even capture an EVP. Like, what is the ultimate point of these events that have, 100, 200, 300 people? I mean, I remember one we tried to do in Rock Island. We're like, well, let's press the numbers a little bit and see how we do. And we sold 75 tickets in no time, and it was miserable. I hated every second of it. So for this one specifically, because it's a smaller hospital, we just cap it at 15. So if you can get your tickets in time, you can get them in time. It's first come, first serve. It is what it is. If you're lucky enough to get it, then you're there. So everybody that's there is very excited. I'm excited. I meet a new groundskeeper. And right before we start, he pulls me inside and he says, can I talk to you for a second? And I said, sure. And he says, I want to show you something. And he goes around the first floor area and he shows me like this cage part, and it covers like this hole that you can get to from outside. And he says, listen for this sound because, if you move this cage, it'd be louder than hell. And what he says is, in the last couple months, we've had some break-ins during investigations. And they're high school kids that just want to investigate the place. But what they'll try to do is they'll try to blend in with your group. And I said, well, there's only 15 of us here. And usually on the history tours, they do large groups, 40, 50 people. And I said, there's only 15 of us here, and I know all these people. And he's like, well, sure, yeah, so you would know right away. And I'm like, oh, yeah. I go, plus we would hear it. If they came in and moved this cage here, this big metal cage thing, I'm like, he goes, oh, no, it's very loud. You'll know. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, but if that happens, he's like, don't be a hero. Just call 911 and then call us. And he's like, I'm just up the street. I'll be down here in 2 seconds, and the cops will be on their way too. And, he says, don't worry about it. And I'm like, okay, no problem, So he leaves, and, we do the normal thing I do. There's only one group that hadn't investigated before, and just kind of give them a few pointers, just simple things like, don't take off running. If something happens, don't run if you can control it. Try to be mindful of others when they're investigating if they want to do EVP work. And, ghost hunting's pretty simple when you get into small groups like that. It's kind of like having a neighbor, in your house where you live. Just be mindful of what your neighbor's doing, and usually things will work out, Basically let them know that it's a long hunt in front of us. We got a good 6 hours, and pace yourself. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and take plenty of breaks, and, we went and got water, all that kind of stuff. So we're ready to go. So right away, we walk in, and there is one area of that place that has always creeped me out, and it's the chapel. Right when you enter and open up the main doors, if you look straight all the way down, you'll see the doors to the chapel. And it's a big old chapel, probably the largest single building that's a part of the structure. And I explained to them that place has always creeped me out. And so we decided we're going to go there first. And this is the start of the investigation. It just started. So I opened the doors to the chapel, and immediately, like every hair on the back of my neck stands up. The goosebumps are all over my arms, all over my legs, everywhere. I just feel like a jolt of uncomfortable energy. And I say, whoa, man. And I stop the group and I'm like, Okay. Guys, there's something in here. Because over the years, again, I'm not psychic in any capacity. I'm not. But man, from growing up in my house in Persia and just the only way I can explain it to you is that although I'm not psychic, I can absolutely tell you when something's in the room. It's a physical response. It's not a mental thing. It's a physical response that my body just makes. I can just tell. And I say, I think there's something in here, you know? So we go in there and we're all kind of standing around and nothing's happening, you know? It's probably a minute or two goes by. And I'm looking around and there's, you know, different lights that are on cameras and, you know, it's creating different shadows all over the place. And one of the first things I think any experienced investigator would do is you try to, you know, figure out quickly where the natural shadows would come from. So who has the lights, who's in front of the lights, and what, you know, what the shadows look like. And I look against the wall and I see a shadow of a long hand that looks like it's pointing, but it looks like it's moving towards me. And I look back over my shoulder and all I see is this girl Janet. And her hands are to her side. And I look back really quickly and that shadow's gone. And I say, hey, was anybody just pointing? Like anybody was holding their hand up pointing like towards me? And everyone's like, no. And I can't see anybody point. I can't see why anybody would point. I don't know why they would. But I chalk it up to it probably was somebody that didn't remember or realize or maybe didn't even know what I was asking. But right as I'm talking about that, and I say, well, it was probably nothing, I look down the hallway, the entrance to where we came in, and I see somebody just peek around. Just the black figure of someone just kind of peek their head out and move it back. And I'm like, huh. And like 2-3 seconds after that, a car goes by, and you can see the car lights outside. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, oncoming car lights probably making that, you know, look that way. Car goes driving by, it goes completely dark around there besides the ambient light from outside. And I see the head peek out again. And I stop and I go, hey, everybody, just stop. Just right now. Come stand in the middle between these pews. And I go, I want everybody to look all the way down this hallway. And I didn't tell them what I saw. I just said, and tell me what you see. And everyone's standing in the middle between the pews. About 10 seconds goes by of nothing. And I see it peek its head slowly out again and it moves back. And everybody simultaneously, I see it. Oh my God, something peeked its head. I mean, everybody can see this. And I'm just sitting here going, wow. We've been in this building all of 4-5 minutes, maybe maximum. And this probably happened 7 or 8 more times as we watched it. And I'm like just sitting there just staring at it. And it finally keeps doing it. Then it finally stops. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I turn around and we start talking about it. I'm just like, God, that is crazy. Like everybody saw it, right? And right in the corner of the room, I hear this loud dragging footstep. And the reason, you know, it catches me off guard is because I'm talking to everybody. I could see them all. No one's moving. No one's walking. I just hear this loud footstep just slide. I was like, holy, I'm like, who did that? Did everybody hear that? And everybody's like, yes, I heard it. And I'm like, who was walking? Nobody. Nobody slid their foot. Nobody. I'm just going, oh my God, already. Here we go. This is already on, like right away. So I start asking, you know, is there anyone in here? Is there anyone in here? If there is, let me know. You know, and it gets quiet. And there's this thing called a darkening. And what I mean by a darkening, if you spend a lot of time investigating, you'll probably know exactly what I mean. You might have even seen it in your own house. But once your eyes adjust to the darkness, it's just like seeing like during the day. I mean, it's a level of light. Your iris is either opening or closing, and that determines how much, you know, visible light that your eyes are using to see what's in the room. So once your eyes adjust to the darkness of the room, if there's nothing changing the ambient lighting, it should not get brighter or darker. Okay? Now, a darkening, paranormally speaking, is when You're looking at something that's dark, and it just like turns to jet black. It almost just seems like black smoke just takes over in an area, and you can't see through it. It just becomes jet black. So as we're standing there, I'm looking down the hallway, and that's exactly what happens. Just a straight up darkening right outside the door. So we step outside the door, and everybody's slowly following me, and I stop, and then I say again, are you out here? Where are you? And sure as shit, bang, this loud crack happens. I'm just like, holy shit, it is right there. And I mean everybody's jumping. I mean, like, this is super intense, especially because, again, we hadn't been in the place for more than, 10 minutes maximum, maximum. I hadn't even had the chance to take him to the second floor or the basement yet, at all. I'm just like, what is going on? So I'm like freaked out, noticeably. I'm like noticeably freaked out, and we step into the hallway, and I'm looking down the hallways where the bang came from. And I know something's here. I mean, there's already enough stuff that has happened. I've seen it visually. I've heard it. I felt it. And all of a sudden, one of our attendees turns and says, hey, man, look at this picture. He had just taken a picture down the hallway. And this is the photo that he took. And if you look here, you can see a shadow person in this photo at the end of the hallway. Take a look at it. So after looking at this photo, to be honest, I'm pretty spooked out because I just wasn't prepared for this, and everybody there is my responsibility. I mean, don't get me wrong. I want activity to happen, and I don't, at no point do I feel like anyone's going to get hurt or anyone's going to be pinned to the ceiling or anything, but I just want to be ready for what could happen. So I know I need to kind of like recollect myself. So I tell everybody, listen, I'm going to go outside. If you can send me that photo, send it to me. I want to brighten it up a little bit. I want to look and see if I can get a really clear image of this body shape. I want to just know what it is that, what are we working with here? That type of thing. And I'm going to have a cigarette. I'm going to collect myself, and then we'll get back to it. So when I went outside, a lot of people came with me. While a few people stayed on the first floor, and a couple others actually made it up to the second floor, where they went into the landing above the chapel. The chapel has 2 floors. It has an upper level, like a balcony, like / loft type of thing, where you can see down into the chapel. And I knew when I came back in, that's where I wanted to go, just because of the vibe that I felt in the chapel. But first, I wanted to look at this photo some more. Which I did, and I was floored. I was floored by the fact that he actually captured a shadow person on camera right where this loud kind of banging sound emanated from, which was this long corridor. So I go in and I share the photo with those who haven't seen it, and I go up to the second floor, and I go out onto the upper balcony, like loft area that is above the chapel. And I'm standing up there, and I still have that feeling every time I walk into the chapel. It's like, ooh, man, I just feel uncomfortable. And I'm looking down, and we're all kind of looking down at the chapel, and this darkening occurs again. And I mean, it's a big one. I mean, it's like right in the middle of it. Things just get super dark in the middle. And I'm like, are you guys seeing this darkening happen? I mean, and everybody's seeing it. It's like, yes. And I see the blackest figure. I can't make out like it's fingers or feet or anything, but I see something move to the right. And I say to it, I think I see you. I think I know exactly where you are. Are you to the front right of the chapel? And we hear, loud as can be, just bang from that second chapel. Now remember, man, there's nobody in there, okay? There's nobody below. This is an otherwise empty chapel. And it didn't come from any of us. The sound came from down in front of the chapel to the right, exactly where I asked, is that where you are? Which at that point, it's kind of freaking me out that it's responding to me directly. That I'm asking, I had just asked for something directly, and immediately, without making me wait, I mean, this happened, bang. I'm like, oh, Jesus, and everybody up there's like freaking out too. I'm like, holy cow, this is just mind blowing. And especially because when I say there was a darkening, I mean, it was so obvious. I mean, it was just visually so incredibly compelling. So we decided we're going to go back downstairs and walk into the chapel and just kind of see what happens. So we go down there to walk into the chapel, and when I say it's cold, I mean, it was cold in there. I mean, way colder than it was outside. Admittedly, it's, 48 degrees outside. So think how much colder it would have to be to feel a noticeable chill inside the chapel. I mean, it was just incredibly, incredibly cold. And as we go down there, again, I'm saying, come feel, how cold it is over here. And everybody's that's coming over, is making comments about it. They can feel it, how cold it is. And everybody's kind of standing, around the room. And again, there's these little footsteps. Start hearing these like little footsteps that are in the room in different places. The only thing that's given me pause is there's a lot of us. And even though I could see everybody that's in the room visually, like the slightest movement of your foot against old wood with dust on the floor can create those sounds. So I'm thinking, okay, just because I know some things have happened, I don't want to call everything paranormal, So I'm trying to relax about it, and I'm just trying to be like, is that you? You have to give us a sign. It's got to be definitive. I got to know for sure. And you could hear it, and then I'm hearing like faint voices, like there's a conversation going on, but it's super faint. But my ears are also shit. My hearing, admittedly, is not the best in the world. And someone said, I think that's a conversation from outside. So I accept that. Absolutely. Okay. If someone feels like it's coming from outside, let's go with that. And again, we're standing around there again, and I'm just looking around. And I turn back and I look over my shoulder, and man, I swear to God, behind everybody, I see something black that just darts across the room. And I don't say it right away because I just don't want to freak everybody out. I'm hoping that more will happen. But the weirdest thing happened in the sense, it shot across the room, almost like it went into the wall. It was just like, how can I explain this? It dissipated right as it got to the wall, but it slowed up right before it did, almost to allow me to see it or something. It was just very odd the way it happened. So we're standing there, and again, I'm just asking, are you here right now? Is there anything here with us? Let us know. It's got to be definitive. And, again, footsteps, steps all over the place. So finally, this is going on for a very long time. So I finally realized, you know what? The last time I was here with Craig, he and I were in this room and we provoked like crazy. I mean, we really got on it. So I'm like, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to take a nice long breath here, a good 20 minutes, and let me see if this all goes away. And if it doesn't, I'm going to see if this thing knows who I am specifically, because it seems to be responding to direct questions I give it. And I think I've seen things like 3 times tonight. And look, in 27 years of investigating, I've only seen what I would call a ghost like twice. But yet 3 times that night, I think I've seen, the black outline of a person. So I go outside and I'm like, I'm going to chill. Everybody feel free to, investigate on your own. I'm going to go hang. And a couple people come outside with me to have a cigarette and hang. And we're all talking. And then, shortly after, I see my friend Matt and Janet, who came. And, Janet is a psychic. Now, again, I don't know what that means. I mean, I know the definition of it, but I don't have psychic ability. And so I can't tell you if Janet is or isn't psychic, but I could tell you this. I believe she comes off as incredibly honest to me and incredibly credible. And so does Matt. And, they both tell me the story about how, he was some wire like hit him that was hanging, and she was touched as well. And I'm just like, whoa, seriously? And she's like, yes. And because I just don't get touched ever. It's happened before the Thomas house. It only happened twice in my entire investigative career, growing up in a haunted house, all that stuff. Only twice have I been touched. And one was in the IM6 house, one was in Waverly Hills. So the whole getting touched thing just doesn't happen to me. So whenever I start hearing that people are getting touched that I believe are credible, yeah, I'm nerve-wracked, man. I'm like, wow. Because it just takes a lot of energy for a person to feel that and for that to happen. So I'm outside and I get my thoughts together and I'm like, okay, I've had a nice break. I'm going back to the chapel and I'm going to find out if this thing knows me. Like, why is this all happening? Now, remember, most paranormal events, maybe one or two things will happen, not a ton of things every time you step in the fucking door, So I'm like, I've got to figure out what this is. So I say, I'm going back to the chapel. I invite everybody to come with me. They do. Now, when I get in there, there's a few lights on from cameras and stuff. I sit in the front pew. So I'm sitting in the front pew. Then there's like a wooden leg guard right in front of me. There's a metal chair to the right of me. And then up on the stage, there's this piano. And then there's like a podium. And in the middle of the stage, there's just like a big table. All right. I tell everybody to shut their lights off. Right as they shut their lights off, I just feel like I can't see anything, like I'm blind, like a darkening happened immediately. And I'm like, whoa, like I can't see anything, and I'm waiting for my eyes to adjust to the ambient light, and it's not happening. And I'm thinking, shit, is this thing like right here in front of me? Like, what is going on? And I say, did I see you earlier? And I remember what I said when I was on the balcony. I said, you're to the front right. That's where I'm sitting, to the front right. Okay? And I say, did I see you earlier? Then I pause. And then I say, if you're here right now, I need to know for sure a definitive sound as to where you're at. Right as I say that, that metal chair creaks back like someone sat in it and slides a good 4 inches. Just, I mean, I am telling you, oh my God, my heart was just racing. Everybody in the room, you could just hear everybody gulp and gasp at like one time together. I mean, I was like, whoa. I mean, I pushed myself down the pew a good 2 or 3 feet and was freaking me out, so I still couldn't see anything. I mean, I was in jet black darkness. And I'm telling you, that metal chair that was sitting there, this wasn't like a tiny little creak, okay? I mean, this is like if I sat down in it and slid, pushed it back a good 4 inches. It was just, I was like, oh my God. I mean, totally freaked me out. My heart is just pumping like crazy. I'm legitimately scared. I'm just like, holy shit. I mean, what's going through my head at the time is, I'm not psychic. Did I really see that with my eyes when I was upstairs when I thought it was to the front right? Because I felt like I did. I didn't think it was meant, so I thought I really saw it. But now am I just enveloped in darkness because it's right there? And, I mean, I called it. I called where it was at, and I don't do that. I could tell you if it's in a room. I typically can't tell you where it's at in the room. I mean, it really did a number on my head. I was just like, oh my God. I was totally freaked out. And I'm sitting there and I'm pausing, and then all of a sudden I could see. All of a sudden I could see the ambient light. And I say, are you behind us? And behind us, you hear not only a knocking sound, like a bink, like knocking sound, but you hear the pew go, like someone sat in the pew. And this is happening this fast, guys, like in real time. Not like I'm asking 50 times and then something happens. And it's loud, too. There's none of that, like, South Park Jan Grant shit where it's like, okay, did you hear that? It went. I mean, this is like loud sounds. All right? So I hear this creaking at the back of the room. I get up and I'm like, oh my God, like this is freaky. I like stand up. I'm like, this is fucking crazy. And I'm just sitting there going, what is going on? I mean, everybody turn on your lights. And I turn your lights and I look and I see that Janet's like kind of freaked out. I'm like, what's going on? But she looks shaken. And I'm like, hey, what is going on? Can you see anybody in here? Because again, she's psychic. And she says, yeah, there's someone in here. It's a man. He's standing right in front of you when you were over there. Which, again, I'm not psychic at all, but it made sense. I couldn't see anything, and that chair moved exactly on call. I mean, it was an intelligent response if there was ever one. I mean, it just blew my mind. And Janet still looks a little kind of like palish, and I'm like, hey, I mean, are you all right? And she goes, my hands are freezing, but my face is hot. And I'm like, huh? And I reach down, and I feel her hand, and it's cold as a frickin' icicle. And she goes, feel right here. And I put my hand up to her cheek and her neck, and it's almost like she's so hot she's sweating. And I'm like, okay, this is freaky. Okay, break time again, because I still don't feel like I have my head wrapped around this. I'm not psychic, so why am I able to feel where it's at? Why is it answering me? Why is every single time through the door, massive things are happening? Every time I go into this chapel, and they're happening on call, and it's around me, and she's saying the dude is standing by me. So I don't know what is going on, all right? And I'm also, at this point, I'm also thinking about our past events, the past two we've had. Like, what is going on? Like, why in the past, with most events, I mean, there was times where we would do 3-4 events in a row, and nothing would really happen, nothing major. But this is major events every time through the damn door. So I take another break again. I mean, a good half hour. I'm outside just calming myself because I don't know what's going on. I cannot figure this thing out. And, like I said, the one thought that pops back into my head is that Craig and I were there and we were provoking. So maybe this thing remembers me. Maybe it wants to let me know that. I don't know. So again, I get my stuff together. I'm like, okay, let's go do this. I go back in the chapel. I sit down in front of the chapel again. Everybody's kind of behind me in different places. Everybody sits down, shut off all the lights. And I say, out loud, I'm just like, okay, I get the feeling that you might know exactly who I am. If you do know me, give me a sign. And right in front of me, on the large table that's up on the stage, loud as hell, you hear, I mean, loud as fucking can be, just bang, like right off this table. I'm like, holy Jesus. So I wait about 10 seconds and I go, I don't get the feeling that I've met you at another place. I think I've met you here. I think you remember me because I was in here with another guy and we were both provoking. I go, if that's true, if you remember me from the last time I was here, when we were provoking you, give me a sign, give me another knock, definitively, to let me know if that's true. 2 seconds later, we hear, I mean, that loud, guys, loud as can be. And I'm just like, holy Jesus, this is incredibly responsive. And I cannot stress this enough. These are not random sounds going on, okay? These are as though someone is listening, taking in the question, and in sync with the answer, giving these loud bangs. And there's nothing in this room that should be banging. Because, when we're walking around, turning on the lights and hanging out in there and not asking questions, these things aren't happening. They're not happening. So I'm absolutely floored by this. Just floored by this. And then one of our attendees joins me. He's sitting right next to me, and the same thing. He's like, oh my God, I could see it. And I could see something black moving on the stage too. Visually, not like psychically. Visually. It was just like, it looked like somebody was walking through smoke or something. I mean, it was so fucking intense, man. I mean, it's just been so long since I've had my heart pump like that, where I felt fear. I mean, and it wasn't like fear, like I was going to be hurt, just absolute fear of the unknown. It was like sensory overload. I mean, there was just so much happening at once, and then ended up leaving then. I came back in again, and as I'm sitting down in the front pew again, this is after leaving and coming back in again with a room full of people right in front of me on the wooden, like, it's like a little wooden wall. It's like a leg guard right in front of the pew. I hear this scratching, and it's like this loud. And I'm just sitting here looking at it, and it's doing it. I mean, I'm just sitting there going, what the fuck? I mean, I'm looking at it from, a foot away. I'm staring at it. And I'm like, look at this. And it would stop, and I would say, okay, do that again. It would go. I'm like, is that you scratching? If so, scratch again. Okay, I'm like, and do more. Scratch it again. Do more. And it would scratch it and go. I mean, this is 12 inches from my eyeballs. I'm like, oh my God, Laura's come sit next to me. And she does. And I'm sitting there, and she's asking for it to do things. It's doing it again. And then you can hear the pews, multiple pews start creaking. And then there's doors that open up, inside the chapel. They're like in the back right of the chapel. And the doors start opening, and you can hear knocking in them. I mean, you could hear going, like it's just slightly opening. I mean, it was so much activity. And the scratching blew me away because, I mean, it got to the point where I was like, guys, everybody turn on the lights. And the lights are all on. And I'm sitting there going, okay, if that is you, do it again and do it louder. And it would go. I mean, just like that. I mean, I'm staring at it. I can hear where the sound is coming from, but I can't tell where on, the actual surface area that it's coming from. But it's right in front of me. I mean, this must sound fucking crazy to all of you. I mean, if I wasn't there, I wouldn't know what to think of it. But I was there. I was there. And it was... It was an ungodly amount of activity that was so incredibly responsive. And listen, I'm the first person to say that unless I experience something, I just can't fully wrap my mind around it. So if you're listening to this and this sounds like totally crazy to you, I totally get it. But what I would say to you is go there. Go there and tell me what the hell you experience. Or you can just join me, because I'll tell you how much this affected me. The first thing I did when I woke up the following morning is I called Joanne, and I booked April 25th. I'm going back. On April 25th, 2020, I am going back. I am going to bring 15 people with me again. The link is in the description. If you want to buy your tickets, buy them now, because they'd sold out last time in less than 7 days. And I'm telling you, there is something going on there that is massively intense, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to bring a ton of equipment, and I'm going to get this all like properly documented. At most ghost hunting events, it's not really about me ghost hunting, because I know this is real, right? I'm a win for me is everybody having an amazing time and having fun. Therefore, I have fun. But the best of both worlds is if I can do that, plus seriously investigate the place on my own too, and grab some incredible evidence. And I plan on doing both when I go back. So, like I said, link is in the description. Tickets are on sale now. AGH presents the return to Yorktown. I invite you to join me. If you think I'm full of shit, come join me. If you trust me and you trust everybody that was there, that experienced all of this with me, and you want to join us, I'd love to have you. Either way, I'm telling you, that place is incredibly haunted, and I am going back. It was amazing. So April 25th, that is the day. It's the first event we've announced for 2020. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what is going on. If it was just a spirit that, and this is what I kept thinking, this is what got confusing to me. If it was a spirit or some kind of ghost that recognized me from when Craig and I were provoking, why didn't it respond that way when we were there provoking? Like, why did it respond in such an intense fashion this time? And it was every time I went back in. There was like no runs through that place that something didn't happen. And guys, I'm telling you largely about my experiences, my group's experiences. Like I said, many people that were with us had their own experiences too, from, Matthew being touched and Janet being poked. And, there was, I'm telling you, look in the comments. I'm sure the people that were there are going to leave their comments as well. Feel free to ask them about their experiences. Everybody had an experience. everybody, I can't tell you how mind-blowing that is when like every single attendee is like, yo, I had a definitive paranormal experience. But this was an all hell breaks loose investigation, and I am definitely going back. And this is one of those investigations when I hear, really smart ass people who are, beyond cynical, and they're just trying to be an asshole because you believe. These are the types of investigations I wish I could just snap my fingers and transport them to. Because when you're in the room and that stuff's going down, man, there's no margin of disbelief. I mean, you know what's real in the world and you know what's not. And when you're experiencing that stuff and you realize there's just no possible way that any of that stuff could be misconstrued. I mean, it's paranormal activity. There was something there that was responding. There was something there that had the ability to move things. It had the ability to smash things and smack things and scratch things. It let us see it at times. We could hear it walking. There were faint times where I swear I heard it talking. It was mind blowing, and I always say skepticism is not only important, it's necessary. Like, you have to have skepticism to get to credible evidence. So it's not like I have a problem with skeptics. I consider myself a highly skeptical believer, meaning that it takes a lot to get me to sign off on something and say it's real. But I know paranormal activity exists, and I know whatever spirits are, whatever the entity and the thing is, the energy is, whatever that thing is that we give that name to, ghost or spirits, I know they're real, and I know they were with us at the Yorktown Asylum. And I cannot wait to get back there, and I hope to see you there as well. I hope you enjoyed this episode number 89 of the In a Crowded Room podcast. I will be back soon with more. All the best.